there are so many things that I love about US, but there are so many things that I love about Singapore as well. So understanding from different perspectives and learning how to appreciate both cultures instead of comparing them. And yeah, like if you are in a new culture, respect the culture. You can integrate yourself into that culture, but still not forgetting where you came from and like staying in touch with that.
Well, welcome to the Brew. I'm your host, Valtteri Salamäki. Today I'm joined by my co-host, we got Luis Macedo, and of course, our fantastic guest, which is the first hire ever from Free Logic. We got Heidi Chen. But before we get started, I think it'd be great a little introduction from you, Heidi, so people get to know who you are.
Okay, so hello everybody. I'm honored to be on this show, and I am Heidi Chen. I'm an international student from Singapore. I came here about 4 years ago, studied business information systems at the University of California, Riverside, graduated last year in June, and I became the first full-time hire at Free Logic. So right now I'm the lead digital strategist here.
Awesome. I appreciate that introduction in. Of course, based off your background, a lot we're going to talk about today is the world of being an international student in the United States and what that's really like. And then really talking about the world of education outside of the United States and what that difference is like, having that experience for myself as well, being in Hong Kong and Milan, which is very, very different on educational standards and expectations and all these fundamentals around it. And of course, this wouldn't be a show without me and Luis going on tangents. So that for sure will be happening all throughout the show. But jumping right into the main conversation for today, I think it would be a little interesting for people to hear your perspective of why you came to the United States to decide to start studying, and what was that first instinct for you and the feeling that you had, because you left everything behind. You just jumped straight into United States culture. So what was that like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to answer your first question, what made me decide to come over here? There are a couple of reasons. So back in Singapore, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. You know, like most of us, when we grow up, we are just like, oh yeah, I want to be a doctor, an accountant, those kind of things. So during my last few years of high school, in Singapore, we call it junior college. So I was in a junior college, JC. And during my last few years, I was working towards becoming a doctor. So I was studying biology, chemistry, math, economics, and English. And as I was studying that, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was like, oh yeah, I want to be a doctor because my mom was a doctor and it seemed like a very prestigious and very, I would say, prestigious, well-paying job. So that's what I was working towards. But towards the end of high school, I realized that was not really what I want to do. Right now, I can't even imagine myself thinking about blood. So I was kind of at a loss of my future trajectory. And back then, even right now in Singapore, it's very hard for you to change your major in college after you decide on one. So I didn't want to risk going into a major for 4 years and ending up not liking what I wanted. So for example, my sister, she studied chemical engineering in college, but she didn't really want to go into that field for her career. So she studied it for 4 years and she actually is now a financial advisor. So very different. So that time I didn't know what to do, but I attended an Education USA seminar with my friend because we just wanted to keep our options open. And the guest speaker was from UCR. So she talked about how when you come to the US, when you study college, you can change your major, or you can even come in as an undecided major. So that was when I decided, I want to come to the US. And right after the seminar, I called my mom and told her, Mom, I want to study in the US. And she was like, okay, cool. So so that's how it happened. I would say other reasons, supplementary reasons would be, number one, I was just very sick of the way that we had to take tests back there. So I felt like it was a lot of regurgitation and rote memorization and regurgitation. So that's why I wanted to push myself to go into a different learning environment. And the second reason was that I was very into fashion, and I wanted to go into a field that's creative. And when we think about that, we think about New York or Los Angeles, right? So that was part of the reason why I decided to come to Southern California. And third reason would be, I would say, a lot of mental health stuff that I just wanted to have a change of environment. And then that was a very long-winded answer, but I haven't answered the question about coming over here, how it was like. So coming over here, I think I was just very excited. I have never been to the US before. Neither have my family. Only my sister has came to the States before. So yeah, I just took the flight, came here, and I was super excited. I was just talking to everybody. I was super extroverted back then. So I really didn't think about much. All I was doing was just really excited, and I would talk to different people. I remember in Singapore, we don't have Mexicans there. So over here, on the first day that I was here, I was just walking around campus. So I met somebody who was Mexican. So I asked him, I was like, hey, where are you from? And he was like, Mexico. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. What kind of food do you guys eat? And he was so freaking confused. But soon I realized that, there are a lot of different ethnicities here.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, no, actually, let me let Luis jump in here right away first, and then I'll continue from there. I'm actually curious to hear Luis's thought. I can tell you your tongue.
No, it's not. I was actually not gonna reference the Mexican thing, but when you did say it like off screen, I did give a little like hell yeah, like let's like there's I would argue maybe too much of us here in Southern California. No, I'm kidding, obviously. One thing I was going to say is like, so you think that the main reason you wanted to come study in the US is because of the flexibility? Like, do you think that, because like I again, this is just me because this is where I'm from. This is the education system that I know. Mm-hmm. But I've never looked at like that kind of, you can kind of flip flop your major around, do whatever you want to do. I've never looked at that as a pro more than I've looked at it as like just something that is an option. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that like over in Singapore and everything like that, like that's just not a thing that happens? Like usually you stick to whatever you pick?
Mm-hmm. You stick to whatever you pick. And usually if you want to do a switch, then I believe you have to study for another whole 3 to 4 years.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There are pros and cons to it though, because a lot of people here, they will complain about how we have to take, like if we are in business, we have to take biochemistry classes and they think it's very useless. In Singapore, we don't do that. But I would say on the flip side, then it provides flexibility because you don't have to study for another 4 years.
Gotcha. So the thing that we bagged on last week, which was the GEs, not the GEDs. The thing that we bagged on last week is the thing that actually makes you able to flip flop around and be able to pick and choose what you might want to do. Mm-hmm. Neat. You know, there you go, Val. The thing that you bag on one week is someone's reason to be here next week.
Let me defend myself a little bit here. I agree with the concept of taking some classes, but the point of the GE is taking up 1/3 of your college education for units and credits is dumb. Like the fact that you have to take like dance 5 and like these random requirements just to get credits and pass them it's irrelevant, and it's not going to help anybody from any background as they come to the United States. But I mean, overall, I think it did bring up a good point that you're talking about, which is that that flexibility and being able to have a chance to really get to know yourself and like what your passions are and what your real interests are, versus being in an environment that is very like strict, cutthroat on like you need to succeed in this one area and be very, very good at it. And it's going to be a hardcore education behind that. Because that is the one thing I did see when I was studying in Hong Kong, just like the student behavior as well as like the classes and the way that they were teaching all the courses was really structured based off of like, okay, I'm going to study finance or whatever. They're in the library nonstop, 24/7, just studying finance. Like I always tell the story of like I went out to the bars, and like when I left to the bars at like 10 p.m., there's this, I saw in the window of the library this person was studying, and then when I got back from the bars at like 5 in the morning, the same person was still in the window studying, and I was just thinking to my head like, man, this wouldn't fly with me, but I felt really bad about myself. I questioned my morals at that point, but that was kind of that cultural change for me, because like I have always liked the concept of like you work really hard, you study really hard, but then you have the flexibility to enjoy your own life and party and have fun, and those are equally as important as like the classes you take. So do you think that was some cultural differences you started feeling in the United States, that there's more kind of social balance and people are valuing more of like their interactions with other people versus just purely studying or the fundamentals of education?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Also, before that, this I hate Big Mike.
Oh my gosh! Don't humor him! Don't humor him! Don't even acknowledge his existence in this chat. Oh my gosh!
The periodic table of elements in order. I literally had the periodic table of elements as my wallpaper. For a lot of my friends did that too for like a few months as we were studying for our chemistry exam, but I don't remember it anymore. So
there you go, Michael. You got what you wanted.
Okay, but
I actually do have a question for you, Heidi. Going back to the Mexican thing, it took me a while. I literally really just it in my brain, but
Yeah, the process.
I had to process it for a second. So in Singapore, was there Mexican food, or was it just like Spaniard, like Castellano kind of food? And the follow-up question to that, okay, so it wasn't. What was the first Mexican dish you had here that wasn't like Taco Bell? Like it was like authentic Mexican.
okay, you
Please tell me it was a California burrito.
No, don't tell me. That's not even okay. Okay, go ahead. What was the first thing?
Tex-Mex, but
It's not like birria. It's not like tacos de cabeza. No, okay, go ahead. Heidi. What was the first thing?
You guys are gonna be very disappointed with both of my answers. Number one, in Singapore, there is not a lot of Mexican food. I tried Mexican food once, and they had tacos, which was $16 for 3, and they tasted not very good. Okay, they were very dry. And then for your second question, the first Mexican food that I ate here was from the dining hall.
Oh my
tacos. Yeah.
It could be worse, I guess. It's better than like Taco Bell or going somewhere like that. There, Heidi, one of these days when COVID is less has a stronghold on our area, I will take you, all of us, to like an authentic like taco place, like somewhere that has like not just good tacos but like good birria, good like all the things that you would want. Al pastor, like fresh, like we're talking like al pastor on the actual rotating thing there. We'll do that. We'll make that a little like a company lunch or something like that.
Actually been to Tijuana before too. So
okay. So you had legit. Okay, that's good. You had legit. Did you get it from like a little rundown shack on the side of the road, or did you go to like an actual establishment?
It was like a food court. So
okay.
Food court.
You have to go to like the alleys that have no lights. You don't know what's gonna happen, and then you see some food at the corner. You just have to believe the process of getting great food, and everything will be perfectly fine. That's when you get life-changing.
It's true. Food. This is big fact. I'm a firm believer that the dirt that flows in the air in Mexico actually enhances the flavor of the Mexican food out there. So open air markets are my jam whenever I'm in Mexico. Or really any country, open air markets are like where it's at.
Yeah. All right. So going from food, let's turn it all the way back around to the education system and the kind of value-based education system of like in Asian culture versus in the United States, and how you kind of perceive that difference.
Yeah, I think going back to your question, I think it really depends on the environment and the stage of education that we are in. Because I do recall being in college, and there were many times when we would go out for meals weekly. We spend a lot of time with our friends, just hanging out, doing nothing, chilling. But it depends on where you are. So in Singapore, you basically have elementary school. Over there, we call it primary school. And then after you graduate, you go into, over here, you call it middle school, right? But over there, you go into secondary school, which is 4 years. And after secondary school, you can choose to go into a junior college, which is 2 years, or you can go into a polytechnic, which usually 3 years, or you can go into an ITE, which is usually around, I think, around 3 years as well. And afterwards, you can go into college. So over there, I would say in a junior college, it is very stressful. And so during the time when people are studying at the end of their secondary school, I think that's when people get very stressed out. And afterwards, when they go into junior college, when they study for their GCE, Cambridge GCE A levels to go into college, that's also the time when they are very stressed out. So all along in my school, I think the competitive nature is just always there. It's kind of like we are just used to it. In Singapore, we like to call it, in Hokkien, we call it kiasu. So kiasu, direct translation into Chinese, means pa shu. Direct translation into English, which means scared of losing. So we always say that Singaporeans, we are very scared of losing. It can be in terms of deals, like shopping deals. It can be in terms of academics, competitions, all those kind of things. So so growing up, we are just taught to be kiasu. The stress has always been there, like the pressure to do well. But the most stressful time is during those major national examinations, because you don't have a cumulative GPA. The GPA during your time in school doesn't count at all. Your results during that one test is what matters. So what we always tell ourselves is, we only have one chance. We have to study really hard, and it will basically sort of determine our future too. So during those times, like just now when you were talking about the studying in the library, right? Last time, I remember when I was studying for A levels, the libraries there, they open at 10 a.m. and they close at 9 p.m. So usually my friends and I, we will bring all our study materials, go to the library and line up. There's a line outside of the library before it opens. So we'll go there around 9 a.m., line up, sit down, eat breakfast. And then once the library opens, we go in, find a seat, and we just stay there all the way until lunch. So we study until lunch, go out, eat lunch, come back, study again, go out, eat dinner, come back, study again, all the way until the library closes. And that cycle just repeats every day. So I would say that, it really depends on the family as well. But in general, it is definitely a lot more competitive as compared to my experience over here.
Got it. So you're telling me that in Singapore culture, they don't get a 6-pack of beer and start doing their little studying sessions and then seeing where it goes, chatting it up and be like, all right, I think I got it. And closing the textbook after like 30 minutes of studying and then wake up the next day and go straight into the exam.
You're telling me they don't put flashcards underneath the beer pong things, and whenever they make one, they get quizzed. They get quizzed on that one cup. You don't do that?
Maybe not in my school. I know my school is we are a lot of goody two shoes. Okay, at least in my class too. But I know when I hear about like the middle school and high school culture, like the classroom environment over here, I'm like, whoa, okay, that's pretty crazy.
There's more than one reason why I ended up in the bottom 50th percentile in my high school,
Sports is the only reason why I stayed so disciplined and had really, really good grades. Because if it wasn't for sports, it would have been an absolute nightmare for how much I would have cared about my classes.
I hate Big Mike. Actually has a lot of dirt on me from high school, so.
You gotta be careful with that, man. Friends always know too much. I'm happy that I have none of my high school colleagues in this chat right now, because I would be a little worried. I mean, going off there, like, so the factor of being an international student coming to the States, going to like a UC school. I mean, first of all, out of all the places you said, like Los Angeles, I mean, Riverside's dramatically different from a Los Angeles or a city setting. Obviously, we're in the outskirts to an extent, but what was that experience like overall, like getting to know people at the school? Do you think it was easy to get associated with people? I mean, you like, as you explained, you're extroverted, so you were reaching out and talking with people, so you're able to make friends and stuff like that. But what was that hurdle? Because when you go from a culture to a culture, there's always this culture shock. There's always kind of this new understanding of how do I fit in properly? What do I need to do? What are the different behaviors that people have here that I would not have done back home, obviously, and stuff like that. So how was that transitional shift over to Coming to America? And by the way, don't watch Coming to America 2. It was really not a good movie.
Did it come out already?
It came out. It was disrespectful to the first one. But yes, just on a side tangent there. But what was it like coming to America and then going through a university program with kind of leaving everything else behind?
I think at first I was just super excited. Usually I don't even use Snapchat, but when I first came here, that was the only thing I had because I was not able to talk to my friends in Singapore. They were all sleeping in the morning, and over here I didn't know a lot of people. So I was just super excited, like taking videos of everything and posting them on social media. And I think the people here are very open and very open, outspoken, and very friendly, easy to talk to. When I first came here, I remember talking to somebody at the airport and then talking to somebody in the shuttle bus that I was on. When I first came to UCR, I went to the dining hall and I was just eating and walking around, and when people would just approach me and then they will ask me whether I'm an international student, and they would just invite me to their events. So I think I was integrated into like some sort of community at UCR since day one, and I was able to meet more friends from there as well. So yeah, in my first few days here, I was already able to go out. I went to Tyler, went to Moreno Valley, San Diego, different places. So I think that was something that was very heartwarming to me, that people here are just so welcoming. Although eventually, definitely, I learned that you still have to be careful, like you have to be safe as well. Yeah, but coming from Singapore, it is a very sheltered, very safe environment. So I think I didn't think a lot about all those kind of things. Like going off a tangent, I wanted to walk to the university village to get my T-Mobile card, but my friends were super against me walking there by myself at 6 p.m. And I really could not understand why. I was like, what? I can just walk there. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Because in Singapore, I can walk around the street. I can take a 30 minutes walk from the train station back home at 3 a.m. in the morning. But over here, I think that was something that was shocking to me. And in terms of making friends, I would say there are some things over here. One thing I realized is over here, a lot of people, they see classmates and friends, there's like a separation. When I first came here, I would talk to everybody that I see in lecture. So I would sit beside somebody and I'll turn to her and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's your name? What's your, like, what year are you in? What's your major? Da 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 da. And then some of them will just be like, oh, they seemed a little bit like reluctant to talk to me. Eventually, as I stayed at UCR for a longer time, I was like, oh yeah, like when I'm in my third year or fourth year, I kind of don't want to talk to people randomly in class. I just want to be there, zone out or listen to class, do my own thing. But yeah, I think there were some people that I connected with, and what we talked about was strictly about class, like class materials, exams, homework, all those kind of things. And I was kind of taken aback or confused by that, because I thought I thought we could be friends, but turns out there's like a separation, that people usually, classmates doesn't mean that you're friends unless you share some form of similar interest. So I think that was something that was different. And other things that were different, am I allowed to? Okay, so in Singapore, there are a lot of...
Do whatever you want on the show. There's no restrictions on this show.
There's no filter on this show. Go for it. Whatever you want to say, just say it.
Yeah, so in Singapore, there are some things that we talk... There are some words that we use that are not they are considered very normal words, but over here they're considered as swearing. So over there, I would like it's I don't think it's much. It's like just shit. Yeah. So over there, we'll just be like, oh shit, like oh well, oh shit. Yeah. But then over here, when I say that, people will be like, oh my god, Heidi is swearing, and because they don't expect that from me. So
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was just about to say that. I don't think it's necessarily a shock from the word shit. It's coming from you specifically as such a innocent voice, and then you're just going like shit. And I'll be like,
hell no, Heidi, I'm here for it, dude.
I know.
Drop all the shits, all the f-bombs you want. I'm right on that ship with you.
I love the shit. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So over there, So I think that was something that I was a little bit surprised by. Other things would be just the choice of words. There was a lot of language, not language barrier per se, but a lot of miscommunication because of our different word choices. So over there, like we say dustbin, and over here you say trash can. Over there you say queue up, and over here you say line up. And then like battery, over there we pronounce battery, and over
British.
here British. And yeah, there are some words that when I pronounce, people just don't understand. Yeah, even my fiance was telling me that he didn't understand a lot of the things that I said in the past, but he was just nodding. So yeah.
I think that's interesting. There's always that language barrier divide whenever you go into a new culture, a new environment, and honestly, the English language is so stupid. American English is just so dumb. There's no logic behind it because
you can't. The rules aren't even there.
The rules aren't there, and there's so much like slang that we use. Like we say like "what's up" to greet people, but like I know from like my family and stuff like that in Finland. Like if I ask you like "what's up" or "how you're doing" in European culture, that means that you're opening up the door to have an open conversation about how you're doing and actually genuinely care. Here it's just like, and I do this like I'm used to it at this point. So I'm always like, yeah, what's up, dude? What's up, dude? So like that's it. Like that's it. The conversation ends at that point. I don't want to know anything else. I just want to say that. And greet people. And then the opposite here as well is that like in United States culture, people they'll greet everybody, but it's not like genuine. It's more of like just greeting. It's kind of expected out of culture, which is nice. It's open and stuff like that. In Finland, it's the same thing as like you don't say to a random person on the street like hello. Like they will just be like, why are you talking to me? Like what is this? Like that I want my own personal space. This is my life. Like I don't know you. So in the States, I know when a lot of people from Scandinavia come here, they're just confused by it. They like it, but they're just like, I don't know how to react to this. And if you're asking me how I'm doing, I'm going to explain how I'm doing. Was there any of those kind of cultural differences between like being in Singapore and coming here that you just like in the beginning, you're like, why are people doing it this way? Because of the irrationality of the English language.
Like over here, a lot of people would ask, how are you? And then I would really want to answer, how are you? But soon I realized I should just ask, how are you back? And then we'll just like nod and go away. So yeah, like I think over there, how are you? People don't say, how are you in... they ask, how are you? Yeah, as in they really want to know you. Like they don't say, how are you to somebody that they are just passing by. Yeah, like, and over here... But there are some things that I like about here is that you get to talk to the cashiers, all that, like you get to have small talks with them, because over there, I think a lot of people are more reserved and shy. So when I first went back to Singapore in summer after being here for about half a year, I was just very into like talking to people, very outspoken. So I was paying for my stuff, and I wanted to ask the cashier, how is she doing? But she didn't. We never caught eye contact, and she was just like super fast. Yeah. So efficiency is what they care about a lot there, especially with strangers.
Yeah, that I could definitely attest to that in Hong Kong. It was all about like the speed of service. It was never about the customer service. Everybody was so rude to me all the time. And if I was trying to speak Chinese, they're just like, why is this freaking Guilo here trying to like say this stuff? You can't even say it correctly. Like I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to get some dim sum, man. Like like I don't know why you're so rude to me, but it's efficient. You get it quick. Here, sometimes it goes the opposite way. Because I've had cashiers that like literally go on like a 15-minute conversation with me. I'm like, dude, I actually kind of have to go, and I feel really bad because I'm stuck in this conversation at this point. But
Yeah.
it's interesting perspective on that end.
One thing with American culture, it's like oversharing is like a thing. Like for some reason or another, people just like will tell you their life story, and I'm guilty of this 100%. Like if like, you know, people will like very quickly just open up to you and start spilling the beans on like on like shit that like they shouldn't be talking about in public, and that's like that. Yeah, it's super different than like, you know, even like in Mexican culture, like you don't just like immediately open up to somebody like that. Like when it's family, yeah, you're open book, but nah, when it's like a random stranger, you know, you're polite, you say, oh, thank you for this, thank you for that, and you can have a conversation and stuff. But like opening up the way that people here do, like you're saying, like you could just be like at an Albertsons getting your groceries, and then like you'll start small chatting with the teller or something like that, and like next thing you know, they're talking about their second divorce and how now they're, you know, they're sleeping on a Motel 6 bed right now, and it's getting tough, you know. And it's just, you know, people very quickly will tell you how down bad they are.
Yeah, it's kind of different in the professional world, though, right?
Oh yeah, and I think the professional world does a really good job of. I think the difference is they pick and choose who they open up to. So like if it's not like, if you know, I would never open up to like my boss, but I would 100% open up to someone who's like on the same level to me. I think that's really the biggest difference in like the professional world and just like everyday world. Because you know, you don't want to open up to a boss, because if you say something wrong, then that boss might, you know, just say like, well, looks like you're never getting promoted. Because you know, this is now your second divorce. Who knows how you can't hold a relationship, kind of thing, you know. But yeah, random employee and stuff like that. Why not go get a beer, talk it over, or go get coffee, whatever, you know, whatever. Pick your poison, and just kind of chat about it that way.
Yeah. There's a big divide between the societal norms and then professional world, and I think on the professional realm, it's really weird because there's so many things that are taboo that like you just never talk with your coworkers about. But I agree with what Luis is saying, which is the way that usually your interaction is if it's somebody that is going to be a decision maker in your career growth, you're not going to be very open with them. If it's somebody who is on the same level as you or in a different department, then it tends to be more of an open book, and it's just like a normal kind of conversation with a friend and stuff like that. So there's that weird thing in companies that exists overall. But yeah, I mean, going into the main secondary topic for today, I wanted to really, chat about you came
Godzilla
as
versus Kong. Is that
we're not going into Godzilla versus Kong for today. I mean, we might close it out with that. I'm down to close it out with that. But but the main secondary conversation was really around now that you came to United States culture, about your professional development and your overall kind of like leadership growth, right? Like coming from a different culture, sometimes you have different expectations on yourself, right? And then you also might have different understandings of like skill sets that you learn during college that honestly I think are more valuable than classes are, like your soft skills that people develop. So how do you think your time being in the United States and then afterwards with some of your professional experience really helped for your own professional development, especially as an international student?
I think it really helped a lot. At first, okay, so I think going back to the first time when I just came here, I was very stressed out because I wanted to find a job after graduation. So what I was focused on was just trying to get as much experiences as I can. And I think that's something that I was taught to do, like a lot of quantity, like just taking every opportunity that you come across, kind of just gathering, accumulating experiences so that in the future you can prepare yourself for whatever that's there. But eventually I learned that we have to be more intentional in the experiences and quality over quantity. But in terms of okay, I just went off a tangent. But in terms
welcome to the Brew. That's all about.
I love it. In terms of what I learned and how my experience here has shaped my personal or professional development, I would say it's a lot of mindset. yeah, it's a lot of mindset changes because over there, I mean, yeah, it was very. I think I like to follow the rules a lot. So, or there are sometimes when talking with recruiters, all that, I think I tend to get very nervous very easily because of a lack of confidence in myself. Like a lot of my confidence in the past came from my skill sets, my capabilities, my academic results, those kind of things. So over here, I think I was very, at the start, I was definitely very nervous, and it was very hard to be, I think, truly authentic because I wanted to put up this perfect image, perfect image of myself. But eventually, I think through a lot of conversations with people and just the conversations with people and also personal experience, like right now being an employee or being somebody who's working as well, you realize that there are a lot of things that I didn't learn about empathy, like putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Like if I'm a recruiter, I'm not looking for somebody who is perfect. I'm looking for somebody who is relatable, who has the potential, So I think those are things that I learned. I learned to be more authentic, to accept myself, my international background, for what it is. I learned to no longer see it as a limiting factor where, some companies will not want to even talk to me because I'm an international student and they don't want to have to sponsor me or those kind of things. But instead, knowing that, hey, I have value as an international student. I've been through a lot that people here may not have, and I grow a lot from that. So my perspectives and my experiences are very valuable. So I think, gaining that confidence and is something that I learned a lot. And just having the confidence to be myself and to speak up. And that's something that I learned a lot in Free Logic as well, to speak up.
Yeah, and apologies for putting yourselves in that situation. That has gotten you to learn that very, very quickly, working on some hard projects and really putting you in tough situations. But the reason why I really I think on professional development growth overall, and for anybody who wants to grow in a professional role, you have to be comfortable with the unknown and doing things you've never done before. And I think that also gives you that confidence from being an international student coming to the United States in the first place, right? Like you already that was the first step of you getting into the uncomfortable and the unknown. A lot of people don't really like tangibly think about, because a lot of people are in their own bubbles their entire life in this kind of safety net. And what that really does to them is that they never adventure out or really pursue additional passions or try things that they don't know if it's going to work or not. But you really don't know what you're good at or how you're going to personally grow all these things until you get put into very hard situations where you have to make hard decisions and it might not turn out the way you expect. But that's usually the times that you learn the most.
Yeah. When I was back there, actually, because it was very easy to just be like, we will go to primary school, study hard, take a national examination, go into secondary school, take a national examination, go into JC, and then go into college, and then work afterwards, and I don't know, get married, live happily ever after, those kind of things. But I was never a huge fan of uncertainty. I was always scared of uncertainty. So even coming here, I think there are times when I would doubt myself. I would think about the things that I want to do but haven't done. But I will talk to my friends in Singapore and they will remind me that, hey, you going to the States and living there by yourself, like going to such an uncertain environment, is already a huge achievement. And so thanks for saying that.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, like I said, I think everybody should have experience in an area that they've never been in before, like traveling wise, studying abroad, working in an industry that they might not have thought about before. Those experiences really what builds somebody up and allows them to succeed in life and really kind of flourish, in my opinion overall. Because if you just early on find something you're good at and you just stick to that your entire life, how do you not know that there's something that you're not better at, or if there's a skill set that you might have that you never really gave a fair shot to, or if you go into another culture and realize that you actually like that culture more, or like you actually appreciate that lifestyle better. I think that's where I really wanted this conversation for insights to have for those that are listening in, is just understanding that the way you're living your life right now doesn't like there's different states that you can be living in, there's different countries you can be living in, there's different jobs you can be having, and life has, time is on our side if you're under the age of 30. So like this is when you want to be doing those experiences, trying things out, and seeing what you really, really are passionate about, because then you feel more happy doing it every single day in, day out. And you can take those risks at this time. As you get older, those risks are harder and harder to take, of course, because you have more responsibilities, more bills, you have family, all these other things you might have to consider. So you can't be taking those risks. You can't be making your startup ideas. You can't pursue that different career or go to another country and live there for a couple of years and seeing how that goes. So, I mean, I want to throw this at Luis here, is just the idea of uncertainty, and what does he think overall about the concept of throwing yourself in the deep waters with literally nothing, no lifeline or anything like that. You just get thrown in and see what happens.
So I don't know if I am going to be the best person to kind of bring up with this, just because I feel like I agree with pretty much everything that you said. Like I feel like the moments of like the biggest growth that you can have come in those times when like you're like the most uncertain, when you don't know how to do something, when you're learning something for the first time, when you're figuring it out. And thankfully psychology agrees with I think all of us here, where it's like whenever you are put in a position of drastic change, or whenever something is drastically new to you, that is the moment when you are most susceptible to habitual changes. That's a common thing in psychology. So it's, that's why a lot of people, when the pandemic happened, a lot of things were so new, so different to them, that a lot of people ended up forming a lot of habits, either good habits or bad habits. It really depends. Whenever you move to a new city, everything is really different to you, that your brain, for some reason, or our brain, human brains, look at that as like, oh, time for me to form like a new identity. This is a new fresh start, so I can start over. It's a weird thing that our brains do, but it's to our benefit, because when you go live in a new city, if you're in a new country, your brain is more susceptible to learning at that point, which is how you can absorb a language, how you can absorb a culture, and how you can do a lot of stuff like that. So I 100% agree that like most learning is going to happen whenever you are like thrust into any new situation, whether that's you think even like for myself, like I think that my biggest growth moments have happened during the transitions in my life from me being in community college, totally different growth there. Me going to UCR, totally different growth there. And then me graduating and doing my own thing, totally different growth there. And I think I'll see that exact same growth and that exact same change in trajectory once my master's starts and I'm doing that. It's like you have these different things that are constantly kind of changing, and that's like the moment you got to capitalize on it. It's really easy to be like, okay, I know who I am and this is what I'm going to be, and then I'm going to go somewhere new. Like let's say you move, let's say you go to, I don't know, Italy, right? Let's say you go to Italy. It's really easy for us to just be like, oh, you know what? I know who I am. I know what I like. And that's that. I'm not going to change that. And very easy to just sit down, stay inside, and just keep to your stuff. But I challenge anybody to like, that's when you should do it. That's anything that you've been scared of. Go try it. Go try it then, because that's when you're gonna change. If you've always wanted to draw and you've always been scared to draw when you move to a new city, go to like one of those like wine and draw thing.
Just go to the park. Just like go open the park.
Go somewhere.
Get some alcohol. In Europe, you can just have
any park in Europe. Outside. Exactly. Any park in Europe, you can drink. You can make friends out in the park. I mean, it's one of the reasons why like Europe is like on my short list of like retirement countries is like because you can literally just like walk around in a park, play beer pong right next to the Louvre. It's like it's wild for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree that like when you are put into those like new experiences, you have a fresh start is when you should have like a list of things that you already are passionate about, you always wanted to try, but you just never really gave it a fair shot, and just try it. See where it goes. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not the end of the world. Go with it with no expectations, just seeing what that experience is like overall. And then just have fun with it. And I that's why I'm so like bullish on people traveling. Like traveling is never a bad investment. Like if you go, obviously right now with COVID, it's a bad investment. Let me preface that a little bit. Right now, a bad investment. After this is over, good investment. Go travel, go explore. Go with just the backpack and see where it takes you. And you'll be shocked with the people you meet, the conversations you have. I mean, that's one reason why this Brew platform came to be, was just really based off those travels that I had and conversations that I had with people. And I just can't be more in the favor of, get out of your home, get out of your comfort zone and your friend groups, and explore and really find out who you are and what you're really passionate about overall.
Can I just say really quickly, why do people think, I think I don't know if this is an American thing, but why do people think that whenever you have to travel, that wherever you travel to does not have washing machines or dryers? Like why do people automatically assume that they have to go with like a month's worth of clothing, like with a checked bag where you're lugging this whole thing around? No. Go with like 4 pair of underwear and like a few socks and just do your laundry. It's so quick. A lot of places you can just drop off your laundry and then go pick it up later, and they'll have it all folded and ready to go for you. Like it's like I can go with like a JanSport backpack across all of Europe if I really wanted to. It's like it's not difficult. Everyone just wants to be nasty and not do laundry while they're traveling. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is though with that.
I think
is that just a U.S. thing, or is that everywhere kind of thing?
That's a United States, I think, problem, is that people here, it just comes from the culture in the United States, which is more materialistic, and like people want volume and they want different clothes and they want to look a certain way when they go out, downtown in the streets of Italy versus if they're at their place, and they want to have different clothings and all these kinds of things.
I own 3 pairs of pants.
Yeah, I literally only have a couple. Yeah, exactly. When I travel, stuff like that, I had a backpack and I traveled to 10 different countries in Europe when I was in Milan, and all I just took a backpack, just all right, let's go, let's see where this takes me, and that's it. And it was that's all I needed, right? But you have to get comfortable with that, and you have to be okay with like you're there to travel, experience life. You don't need to have your Gucci flip flops with you and your red bottoms out in the streets every single time when you go out. So I don't know. I think it's a cultural thing. But I mean, Heidi, you got any takes on that?
Yeah, I think I definitely fall into that category of bringing a ton of things in the past, because in the past I used to have so many things. Like when I was in college, just coming into United States, there were so many options in terms of shopping. Like you can buy anything online. But so many shops in the US don't ship to Singapore. So when I first came here, I was just overwhelmed by the amount of options, and I'll buy a lot of things. So when I traveled, I remember traveling to New York with my friends, and I just had a huge luggage. I was like, oh, I gotta have like this outfit, that outfit, and then this kind of things. But right now I do realize that all these things, it's really a lot of materialism and consumerism. So, and it really comes down to what you value. I guess some people, if their job depends on it, like if they are an influencer, content creator, then sure, that makes sense. But for us normal people, I really think now that it's very important to just be in the moment and to focus on the learning, focus on the meeting new people, those kind of things, instead of like what you're going to wear, all that. So I'm trying to minimize my things, selling things, and just buying a lot less things too. So
Depop is your friend when it comes down to like selling some nicer clothes that you have. But no, I mean, don't think that like this is something that like I was immune to at first. Like when I first started traveling, oh my god, so we went to, and it wasn't even like we traveled across the globe. Me and my wife went on a trip to Seattle and like Portland with like friends. It was before COVID. we would usually travel 3 times a year. We would travel once for like for us, me and her, then once in summer, and then once for New Year's. We would always spend New Year's in a different place, not home. So whether that's like in New York, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, these different places, right? This year I think it was supposed to be Nashville, which would have been interesting because the bombing happened like Christmas Day. But I digress. But no, I mean, the first time we went there, I had a backpack, like a big backpack, and then I had a backpack. We had a check, and then we also had carry-ons. And I will never forget the misery that was carrying that stuff into like for one, you have to only get Uber XLs because you have to get a big car that's going to be able to handle that kind of stuff to put in it. So that's more cost. And then you have to lug that stuff around public transportation sometimes, and it's awful. Yeah, it's just never again not worth it. I only go with one backpack now, and that's it. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just important when you're traveling or going anywhere, and obviously if you're moving from Singapore to the United States permanently, of course, please bring your stuff with you. But if you're just traveling and
if you're moving permanently, you just need one pair of underwear just to get you there. Then you can buy new stuff.
Yeah, you can buy everything else. Actually, that's a fair point. So it's not too expensive to bring it over. But the important thing to think about is when you're traveling is what like your intent of why you're there. Like that you're there to learn, you're there to engage with like the area you're in. And I see that a lot of times when people are traveling is that they go there and they're just trying to get that perfect Instagram photo. And honestly, I feel like they're there, but they're not there. They're not present in the areas that they're going towards. They're not really like trying to talk with locals or go to local diners. They're literally there just for the photo, and they spend a lot of time. And I feel like they didn't even see or enjoy the environment they're in. They're going to forget about the scenery that they were just in being able to enjoy. Yeah. Like when I was at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, there's a group
people who are like
there's 3 sorority girls taking photos, and I was dying laughing because they were like taking photos in different spots. Like me and my homie like took one photo each. We're like, that looks good, cool. We were here. We go grab our food, and then when we had like 2.5 hours of just like drinking wine and just having good food and stuff like that. Walking back to our hotel, and the same girls are still taking pictures, and I was just like, man, you're not seeing anything here, and like that. Yeah. That's not. You're not really getting to enjoy learning about being in Italy or the enjoyment of this place. So I think that's another important piece that we're talking about, this minimalism. And when you travel or go somewhere, go there with intent. Go there intent to learn or try something new, and have a list of like, this is what I want to get out of this experience versus just going there to go there. I mean, it's not bad to do that. And of course, you do what you want with your life. Like, it's your life. If you want to take photos, that's all you want to do. But I think people need to understand and gravitate towards enjoying that moment, that experience, like being present versus just visiting a place and being like, all right, I was there. I don't think that's very beneficial for anybody.
It is a bunch. I previous life, I still kind of do it, but I was a photographer. So anytime I travel, I feel like I had to take all my camera stuff. I felt like I had to take like my DSLR with like 3 different lenses just in case I needed like just in case I needed to take a really far away shot. I had the lens for it. Just in case I needed a shot of just me and my wife, I had a lens for it. But then very quickly it's like you start to realize that like I would much rather just not worry about all that stuff, have my phone in my hand that takes good pictures, and just take 1 or 2 pictures, but then be in that place. Because like so quickly like you can get wrapped up in like this weird like the clout race of just like, oh, I gotta take this really cool picture to let people know that I was chilling over here sipping on wine by all this stuff. It's like, no, it's like look, in like when I'm like 80 years old, am I gonna care that I got a really sick picture in front of like the Eiffel Tower, or am I gonna or am I gonna care that I had a really fun time like watching the vendors underneath the Eiffel Tower get chased by the French police, and like me being present for that moment? It's like that's I think the moment is a lot more important than the photograph, because who cares? What are you taking pictures for? Like who? Like I laugh because like, are you ever going to be in a position where you tell somebody, oh yeah, I was in Paris, and they're like, oh yeah, where's your picture? It's like, is anybody ever going to be like, where's your proof that you were in that country? It's like, no, get out of here. Like, fuck off. I don't need to prove to you that I was somewhere. Like it's right here.
Yeah.
It's my take.
I love this tangent that we are going on. That's exactly because last time I mentioned that in high school, I wanted to come over here because I wanted to be a content creator. And that's why I wanted to come to Los Angeles. Not technically Los Angeles because we're in Riverside, but
Close enough. Yeah.
but that was something that I realized that I wanted to be more like in the present rather than just focusing on getting this perfect picture, all those kind of things. And my housemate Caitlin, I'm not sure if you're watching. Hi, Caitlin, if you're watching. But yeah, I was just talking to Caitlin about my husband Caitlin about this. Yeah, that in the past, like even when we travel, like Val, you were saying when we travel, she say hello. Okay, yeah. When we travel, I will always think about, I want to go to this nice cafe, that nice cafe, like this place, not even for the historical significance of it, but more for the aesthetics of it. But right now, I was just telling my fiance, like, if I am to go back to those countries that I've been to, I would take a completely different approach, and that would be for after COVID. So
yeah. I think that's a really good take. That's what I'm saying is when you're younger, of course you're gonna go there because you want to enjoy, and like I was there and I got to enjoy this.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I think as you get older, you're really gonna start focusing more on like the experience of getting that amazing food from a place that didn't have like a big name for itself and stuff like that. Because when I was in Barcelona, I went to this. We were trying to find food, and we found this like local Cuban diner, and it was amazing food. And they loved us so much, and that they were providing it was one of my friend's birthdays, so they gave us free shots, like all these kinds of things. They're really treating us well. I was just like, man, I wouldn't get this at like these like really prestigious places that have all their name for themselves, right? Because they're not like the small business owners and locals there really want to give you a good experience, and they're gonna make it unique and fun. And like I'm never gonna forget that experience. Then I had like tapas at a very, very expensive. All I remember is the bill. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything else except the bill.
Seriously.
So that's my take when it comes to like getting food or going anywhere. You want to find those like local spots, like those local like in Italy, like local like different sandwich shops and like different meat shops and stuff like that, where you can get amazing beers and sandwiches. Or if you're in Hong Kong, I always try to find like different street food or like dim sum from like really like low key places. Those are experiences I'm never gonna forget. But of course, you sometimes got to get your Michelin restaurants, and I know that's your lifestyle there, Luis. But
oh yeah, dude. I 80% of the reason I travel is to go and for the food. I mean, I've said this before, but when me and my wife for our honeymoon went to Paris, we purposefully didn't stay in the first armament. Like we could have stayed in the touristy part right next to the Eiffel Tower, all that stuff, where like people speak English and like we had a bit easier time, but we didn't do that. Instead, we went in the 8th armament, which is Bastille, which is where all the really good food is, a lot of the Michelin starred food is. And thankfully, people speak Spanish in France, so I was able to use my Spanish to get us around. But if I didn't know Spanish, it would have been awful, because even like there was a pizza place right underneath us, and when we first got there, I just wanted to get a bottle of water. This is before I found out that the city of Paris has arguably the cleanest tap water in the whole world. Like it's like bottled ready, because they care a lot about the water that their people drink. Crazy, I know. So I went down to this pizza place, and I like tried so hard, like in like my broken French, to just be like, please, I just want like a bottle of water. And he was like, well, if you don't have cash, then you have to use a card. And I was like, okay. So then I put a bottle of water, I took out my card, and he's like, well, there's a minimum. You have to spend like 10 euros in order to use the card. So I was like, how many? I tried to say like, okay, how many, right? And he was like, I don't know, like 10, because like $1 a pop. So I had to buy 10 water bottles. And I was just like, all of that could have been avoided if like that wouldn't have happened if we were like in a more Americanized part of the city. But I don't regret it one bit. There was so much good food there. We were right across the street from a little cafe that was just the so good. Every morning we'd go to this even further cafe a little bit to get our latte in the morning. But fantastic, man. Yeah, if you ain't traveling for food, you ain't traveling, you know.
Mm-hmm. Honestly.
Yeah. Eat some weird stuff too. Escargot, you know? Why not? Try it. You're there. That's where they make it.
Yeah, when I went to our tangent is going, but when I went to Korea, we ate so much like exotic food too. So we ate this dish called yuke, and it's basically raw beef. So raw sliced beef, and then with some sauce. So you eat that, and then we also ate live octopus. So the tentacles will be like
live octopus. I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. Like I love seafood. I'll eat anything, but if it's live, I don't know, man.
I think I do it. I think I would do it.
I would do it, but I don't know. I need a couple beers first.
No, yeah. It's because like I've had mariscos is like huge. Like seafood is huge in Mexican culture, so it's like I would for sure try it just because I love octopus. But I think yeah, I'd need a few beers, maybe a shot or two in my body before I could, because I can just imagine just how chewy and how slimy it might be. You know, I don't know. You tell me, was it chewy and slimy? Yeah, what was it like?
It was not chewy, not slimy. It was super crunchy.
What?
Because they were not cooked. So like we ate abalone as well, like live. So it was literally on the spoon and moving, and then you had to pour chili sauce on it and put it in your mouth. So it was really crunchy. Like the cooked version is chewy, but the live, not even raw, live version is crunchy.
Oh my gosh! I think someone would have to like put a blindfold over the octopus's eyes for me to be able to just take a chomp of it or something. Yoish.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to start a brew series where we just travel after COVID and just eat super exotic foods in different places. In Vietnam I had a lot of exotic foods, in Hong Kong I had a lot of exotic foods. And then when you go to like some really high-end Japanese restaurants, that's where you can get like bull tongue and stuff like that, like things that you wouldn't expect eating but are actually like really good, but you have to be willing to try it, right? Like you're just looking at the menu, you're like, am I really about to eat this right now? I'm like, sounds good, looks expensive, let's try it out. It's worth the experience. So yeah, I think that's
I had crickets one time, and I remember my wife gave me so much shit for it. We were at this Mexican place, this like Michelin reviewed spot in Guadalajara, and they were just like, it was like quesadilla de grillo, which is like a cricket quesadilla, and I was just like, do people eat this? I asked the waiter, I was like, do people actually order this? And they're like, yeah, it's one of our most popular dishes. And I was like, all right, bring me some, dude. And it was delicious. It was really good. Like it was really, really good. So like, you know, just eat the food. If it's on a menu, the more likely than not, people have ate it and not died. So there you go.
Crickets are high in protein.
Yeah. I'm on the cricket train now. If when the water wars start and we're just eating nothing but crickets, then I'm here for it, dude.
I think that was actually a cultural difference too. Like over here, people don't eat a lot of things, but coming from a Chinese
you eat steak
culture,
and eggs. That's it.
Yeah. But in Chinese culture, we eat a lot of things. Like we eat snakes, alligators, like pig's blood, congealed blood, chicken feet, those kind of things. And I was very surprised when I came here and people were just like very disgusted by those things.
Chicken feet are delicious. Like that, people sleep on chicken's feet. They're so good.
So let me put I think that's actually a good take on American culture, and the reason I really like this conversation is we're talking about how we've gained that international understanding by going to just different places, experiencing different things, and that's how our perspective has grown. But like one part of that on food is in the United States, it's all about how it's presented to you, but nobody asks about the details. Like if you know what's inside of chicken nuggets, for example, that is
disgusting,
awful, but then chicken feet, for example, which is not bad at all, but it's just the presentation of it is what drives people. And I think that's where American culture is very interesting to me. It's like people don't question what they eat. They eat all these preservatives, all these chemicals. Yeah. Like they eat just random guts and like organs and all these kind of things inside of different foods. No problem. Oh, that's delicious. That was the best thing ever. And then somebody else eats crickets and it's like, that's the worst thing. That's disgusting. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think it's too visual here.
People will, without even second guessing it, eat some hamburger helper, but they won't eat a cricket or like, or like chicken's feet or something like that, or even like Heidi, you were saying, like pig's blood. Pig's blood is huge in Mexican culture. It's huge in a lot of cultures. It's something that you used to cook with. Not here. Like heaven forbid somebody has to eat like liver or something. Like I think liver is like the one thing that like people will like tolerate here, but like not very often, and that's just it's crazy to me.
That's so true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Like the lens of like chicken nuggets and sausages and spam. I imagine.
Yeah, what is spam?
ingredients in spam, but
Spam is just spam, man. Like you don't need to know. It's just spam. Like you don't question things here. It's just that's what you're eating. You're eating spam.
Spam just tastes like I'm eating congealed salt. That's what I think about spam. Like it's so salty. What is that, like spam masubi or something like that? What's it called again? Yeah, spam masubi. It's disgusting. It's so gross. Just like that punch it. Like usually I'm all for like salt, but like that salt with the texture. The only time I'll eat it when it's like when it's pan fried. Pan fried spam is decent because the texture. But when you just get like spam out of the can and you put it like oh, it's disgusting. It's so gross.
Man, I love how far of a tangent our conversation went, but I mean, like overall, where I really wanted this conversation really drive from, like I said, was just understanding different perspectives, what that's like, right? Going into those new cultures, what you're going to experience, how you have to be more open to try new things, and how that's going to lead to you understanding different truths about the world and about yourself overall, and all this kind of stuff. But where I would want to kind of end the show for today is really focusing on one last thing. We'll see if it goes into some side tangents, because I have a feeling it will. But from your experience now coming to the United States and this international student world that you've lived through, what would be your advice for either U.S. students trying to go international, right, or other international students coming to the United States? Like, if you would wrap that around like one piece of advice you would want to focus in on, what would that be, to help others that might be thinking about a lot of stuff and it's quite overwhelming for a lot of people? What would that advice be for them?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say stay true to your background and culture and be proud of it, and never see it as like a limiting factor. Pretty self-explanatory. And because let me just elaborate then. Because I like in the past, I think it's very easy for you to go to a new environment and just start comparing various aspects of the two different cultures. Like, there are pros and cons to every single culture. Like, there are so many things that I love about US, but there are so many things that I love about Singapore as well. So understanding from different perspectives and learning how to appreciate both cultures instead of comparing them. Like, if you're in a new culture, respect that culture. You can integrate yourself into that culture, but still not forgetting where you came from, and like staying in touch with that. And one thing I need to work on is improving on my Chinese. So that, and then also being proud of it, knowing that you bring so much value just because of your international perspective, and then not limiting yourself. Because I think one thing that I used to be afraid of is admitting that I'm international, because I was afraid that it would make some people more like it will scare some recruiters away if they think that I will cost more, or there's more paperwork that needs to be done in order to hire me. But now I'm realizing that like I want somebody who values me for my background. And if they think that just because she's international she has more paperwork, then you want somebody else who will value your background more.
100%. And to your point, it's not. I think that this notion of kind of losing your identity isn't something that just happens in someone who comes from like at some point in their life. Like even for myself, like I grew up here in the States, but I would growing up I would spend half the year in Mexico and half the year here. Spanish is my first language. I'm a first generation American, and I remember like going into high school, like I was just like, okay, I had to make the decision of like, okay, do I lean into like my Mexican kind of culture, heritage, and all that stuff, and really grab it by the horns, or do I fold and do I just become like a generalist where I can kind of chameleon myself in every single culture? And Val, I think you can probably speak on this as well, coming from the Finnish cultures, is more often than not, people who are first generational, they pick to become a generalist, because it allows you to assimilate with that culture and allows you to kind of do stuff, and you end up putting your culture in the back burner. You say, instead of saying, you're not proud to say, oh, I'm Mexican American, you just say like, oh yeah, I'm American because you were born here, you know. And that's kind of the way that you go about it. But then eventually, hopefully, you end up refining your culture and kind of invigorating any kind of pride that you might have in it. And it's something I think that happens to a bunch of first generation Americans, and it's something that I think gets lost once you get a few generations in, and then you just start to classify yourself as, you know, American and less so as the other culture. But I know for myself in high school, hell no, like I was super like ashamed to say that I would say that I'm Mexican and I could speak Spanish fluently, I could read it, do all this stuff, but at the same time you're like, oh, I don't want to be labeled as like a Mexican, you know. And then, you know, I came to college, I grew up, and I started realizing that there should be no shame in the game, you know, like I am who I am. And turns out that most Americans, whether they like to admit it or not, they wish that they were the culture that you are, you know. You know, and it's one of those things where, like, you know, take advantage of it, be proud of who you are, and share your culture, because it's the through line that connects everybody. It is the culture, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when you leave a culture and come to another culture, I think the way that it's perceived is that you are not enough of one culture or not enough of the other either. You're kind of in this like no man's land, and you have to prove yourself on both fronts. So when I was in high school and stuff like that, like I was the Finnish guy, and then when I go back to Finland, I'm the American boy. So it's just like it's just like I'm in this no man's land of both sides of it. But I think it's an interesting take that you brought up, which is like when you're younger, you're gonna be more focused on like Americanizing yourself or being like I'm an American, blah blah blah. But then as you get older, you kind of realize that no, like what actually makes you who you are is that understanding of your background culture and how that's empowering at the same time. So it's this interesting dynamic, I think, that exists for anybody who's international or anybody who gets put into a new culture of how do you find that belonging in that culture. And I think that's an internal battle that you just have to be comfortable with it working out, right? Like you do not expect it to be that way that you're feeling is going to be there forever. You're going to start getting more comfortable with it, but you have to kind of accept that I'm in a new culture. Where I have to grow myself to be comfortable with where I am today. And I think that's a very important perspective for any international students that are trying to come anywhere, whether United States outside or outside come to the United States.
I will say as well is that one thing that is real shitty is because I've spent so much of my life kind of putting my culture in the back burner. Now that I'm in a position where I'm at, where it's like all I want to do is do nothing but help my culture elevate itself and bring itself to the forefront and do all this stuff. But then I'm always kind of like battling internally with myself. It's just like, is it hypocritical for me to try to position myself as a thought leader and someone who pushes the culture forward when I spent so much time suppressing the culture down? And it's like this constant like back and forth. Most people tell you no, like go and do the thing that's going to benefit you and benefit your culture and put your culture in the forefront. But you know, it's an internal conflict that happens more often than not. Then you get into like an imposter kind of situation where it's just like, well, crap, how am I going to help this culture out when like I've spent so much time, you know, becoming an American and doing all this stuff. And to those people, I will say that you're better off just kind of being okay with the fact, come to peace with the fact that you did that. But then forget about it, be a goldfish, forget about it, and then push forward and, you know, start making the change that you want to see within your culture specifically.
Yeah, I like that. I have so many first generation, like friends who are first generation immigrants, and they would tell me that, they feel like they want to help their culture, but it just feels like that imposter sense when they've been suppressing it for so long. Like that.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's the real deal.
Yeah.
I think to close the show, any last takes from you, Heidi, before we end today's show on this conversation about international education, international perspectives, and the importance of your own professional development?
Yes, actually, while we were talking, I thought about something else which I think I will want to give as a lesson that I learned too, which is to ask for help. Because being an international student, there are many times when you just feel like, for example, with my family, I would feel like, oh, I don't want to tell them some things or tell them when I'm struggling because I don't want them to worry about me. But you have to learn that your parents, yes, they will worry about you, but they care for you and they are there for you. So I think it's always, just knowing that when you're asking them for help, you're not burdening them or making them worry, because they do truly care for you. And most parents, they are mature enough to not like get, let that worry overwhelm them. And then in terms of other people to reaching out, because, it's hard to reach out when you have like pride or just that false sense of independence. But over here, when you are in a new culture, it's so important to reach out. That not only makes things easier for you, but it also builds a lot of trust and helps the other person as well, as they are able to learn about your culture, learn about themselves through helping you. So I think I will want to end with that. Never be afraid to be authentic and ask for help.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent way to close out the show today. And as you stated, like when you just ask for help, the worst thing that can happen when you ask for help is somebody just says no, right? That's it. That's the worst thing that can happen out of it. And imagine the best thing that can happen out of it. Completely life trajectory. So I think that's an important perspective. Definitely a perfect way to close out for today's show. Appreciate you having you on the show, Heidi. We'll have you again multiple different times. To let us know whenever you want to be on the show. So it's not just we trying to bash each other's heads on ideas, philosophies we have about the world. But it's been great kind of chatting about that international perspective and everything else we went through today. But those listening in, if you want to learn more about professional development, things like mental health that we talked about, your own growth, definitely check out our platform, thebrew.tv. Read some stories from people we've had. We're creating more and more community partnerships, focusing on conversations on mental health and professional development, so we can provide more and more value to our audience and our community. But that's it for today's show. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And next week is the start of the Entrepreneur Summit, which Nick, if you could throw that into the chat as well. Register for that as well. Heidi will be speaking at that event also, so that's something to check out. And Nick behind the scenes is the one who is producing that whole thing, so we'll give him a nice shout out as we go through that. But thank you for tuning in. This has been a great episode of The Brew.